Hello, this is Nathan, better known as CrazyhermitDM, and this is my podcast, The Hermit Homebrew. Joining me today is Brent from Lang Mini Studios, and Chase, better known as Kilk, as we talk about Dungeons & Dragons and tabletop gaming. We're going to dive right into this episode because we're going to talk about Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, and
they're at it again.
I want to give a special shout out to Chris Perkins. This is the man was around back in TSR. He just kind of gave a quiet retirement over this last week. Gave the announcement over Twitter. There's a couple of red flags with this one to me, because one, he's only 57 years old. Granted, he has worked at Wizards for 28 years. But not only 6 months ago was he being named, he was stepping back from more the kind of story development thing, which he was since 5.0 and 4E and 3E. He's going to become a creative director and kind of get on more the admin side. But he has also announced that this 5.5, this DMG, which is probably out of the 3 new books, probably the best one, from my opinion, personally, what I've read. That was his magnum opus. So he's kind of been hinting that this was coming. I don't think a good amount of people retire at 57. Statistically, from what I can see online, because I tried to actually get an answer, less than 15%. And then you have to be, well, I also come from a lower middle class type setting, so most people work well under their 60s or 70s, in my opinion, but he could also be making bank.
Especially after 6 months of a
new position,
and then suddenly you're retiring.
Yeah.
That's weird, to say the least.
But as I was mentioning, he's been around since 3E. He was a senior story designer for 5.0.
I mean, yeah, he's been, what was that, like 28 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's hugely popular face of Wizards of the Coast. He's their DM, in my opinion. He did all the live plays with Acquisitions Incorporated back in the day. He was one of he was Matt Mercer before Matt Mercer was a thing.
Yeah. And yeah.
So the question is, there's now kind of a power vacuum. There's Jeremy Crawford that's still left. He's the only real face out of 5.0 that's left. He was the senior designer with Mike Merles, who Mike Merles was part of the 1,100 people that got laid off like 2 years back. Right before the OGL.
Yeah. Jeremy Crawford, he's pretty much the only one left from 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's 11 years, 2014
and
to
at the
2025.
time, Mike Merles wasn't even part of D&D at the time. He went over to Magic the Gathering when he got laid off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And now he's working for Canasium, the people that put out like Call of Cthulhu and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's developing his own 5e engine called Odyssey, which is a simplified version. And he gives lots of good takes, or maybe not good takes, but at least hot takes on Twitter. Like, he thinks bonus actions are garbage.
Oh,
he thinks they clog up combat. He's trying to develop a system that you could play in your lunch hour.
Oh. Okay.
That is his goal.
Okay, I don't know. I'll keep an eye keep for that.
Back to Chris.
Chris,
this one kind of hurt, even on a personal level to me, just because I heavily, no matter what Wizards has done this last 4 years, and they've done
a lot.
They've done a lot, and in my opinion, they've stepped in every single pile of dog shit that is the gaming community.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely slam some doors and faces, honestly.
But no matter what they've done, we all know that ain't Chris. We know it ain't him, and we know what type of person he is. He's a die-hard gamer.
Yeah, he's still got at least I thought, the passion for it.
Yeah, I think he still does. I really think he does. I have a couple of thoughts about this. A couple of probably firm ideas of what happened, and they're all hearsay and conjecture, so nothing's confirmed. But I did just like finish a podcast called When We Were Dragons, which was actually made right here in Omaha. And it was a 13-part episode thing, and it talked about kind of the history, the rise and fall of Gary Gygax. And in the episodes that they talked about just these rounds of layoffs that would continually happen because the bank basically owned TSR majority, and so they were kind of dictating, it's like, you got to tighten your belts, you're spending too much.
Yeah.
And all this. It just gives really echoes of that type of feeling of like, it just feels like, because they just laid off the VTT Project Sigil crew just like 2 weeks ago.
Wait, yeah, what, like 9%, 95% gone?
90% of people. There was 33 people on the team. They announced that they promised dynamic maps, 3D minis, tight D&D Beyond integration. They showed a very promising demo a year and a half ago, and a lot of like content creators like Professor Dungeon Master or the Roll for Combat crew was talking about how it was very promising a year ago. And then they saw it again just recently, and it looked like no progress had been made on it. So now it's just going to be a feature on D&D Beyond. They fired 90% of the crew, so that's 30 employees out of 33, leaving only 3 people left to basically, as it's now in quotations beta mode, leave it in maintenance mode, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Hot fix here and there, but no real major, like,
and you've been around as long as I have in this hobby, but you remember when they first started doing 4E, they promised the same
thing. Yeah, it was supposed to be, here's the books, here's the digital companion so that you can do it all. It's same thing.
The same exact thing and the same exact result.
Yeah, nothing. To be honest, I wasn't that bought in on virtual tabletops, and I'm kind of still not, but I absolutely can see their benefit, especially for, let's have this technology work for us. We have, friends and family that are across state lines, that are across countries, or in, whatever. Or maybe you're in the military and you've got buddies that are in Hawaii and Florida and Germany and Korea, wherever.
Not to go down that path, or we're not going to, because we refuse to on this thing. Maybe you have a sitting president that likes to make absurd tariffs, and so
it makes it difficult to get physical products. Yeah.
Get physical products, so digital might be the way to go.
Yeah, exactly. And then you come to this where maybe it's a viable alternative, and you open the bright, shiny packaging with the green bow, and you open up and it's empty.
Getting back to Chris Perkins, though, it reminded me of I'm not going to name names just because of the situation that it was. It was a former job of mine that I had, and they gave a particular management person severance under the guise of retirement. And they promised to give them severance so many months of the amount of years they worked there, and they worked there longer than Chris had worked at Wizards.
Oh, wow.
So they had years of severance.
Yeah.
1 month for every year.
Oh, okay. And they've been worked there. So, yeah, if Chris worked there for 28 years... So
you would have been getting 2 years, 4 months of severance.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
But it was under the guise that you're retiring, you're getting this severance, and you have to sign this document saying that you will not talk negatively about us whatsoever.
Okay.
It makes me wonder if it's the same exact thing. And that's purely conjecture.
Yeah,
It's nothing confirmed. But just like...
It feels...
It's an alarm going off in my head. Like, I've seen this. I've witnessed this before.
This feels familiar. Yeah, exactly. And especially, like, we said before, he's been there for decades. He just accepted a new position 6 months ago.
Was the position, though, because obviously they're going in a different direction and he's stepping back from the creative side and he was slowly just itching his way out the door, though? And this is the way he did it?
Or is it like a Henry Cavill moment to where I'm telling you to do this is how we need to do it, and you keep saying no, we're going to keep doing things, and I just don't want to be a part of what's coming down the pipe. I'm afraid of what's coming down the pipe. for someone like this to leave, I'm worried.
There was 2 red flags with his announcement as well. Was one, well, it was over X. He said in the announcement that D&D 5e, and this is going back to the alarm that's going off in my head that he's not allowed to talk bad. He said in the post that D&D is selling gangbusters. Exact quote.
That's not a... Okay.
Maybe not exact quote, but if you watch the news like I do with this podcast, it kind of tells a different story. That it's not doing that well. That it's very... I know a lot of people that say, well, 2 things. The art's phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah. Artwork is beautiful.
It has a very lack of an adventuring quality and more of a day-to-day thing to it.
Yeah. But still visually looks good.
The formatting to the books is great, and it's probably the cleanest formatting they've ever seen out of any edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Other than that...
So quality of life improvements, but content improvement?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's for the players to decide.
There's reasons why this group, for personal reasons, is choosing to go to Tales of the Valiant and look at other systems. You say, we're selling gangbusters when there's evidence of the difference. So are you retiring and being under the stipulation that you're not allowed to talk negatively?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
hard to say.
And
that's my
And like you said, this is all speculation, and it's difficult to talk about it from speculation because I like to believe that he's doing it for the right reasons, and that he's just like, I've done what I've wanted to do. I'm leaving it on a good note. I think the ship is heading in the right direction finally. I'd like to think that.
If they gave him severance, though, I mean, I wonder if would he even want to go work for another company? That you've been at a company for 28 years, you were part of TSR, you were part of the original.
Maybe some of the other people that have left, maybe they're, like, hey, come sit at our table,
It would be really cool if he went and maybe designed his own game system.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if he's done more of the story creative stuff. He's never been on the mechanical side. Mike Merles was on the creative side, and Mike Merles is creating Odyssey right now. Mm-hmm. It would be cool as hell if he went and teamed up with...
That would, yeah. Yeah, maybe he's going to go, hopefully, for his sake. It's on good terms just because he wants to. But it would be really cool to see like a dream team type of situation come together to where we don't need all this anymore. We can go do what we want to do and make what we want to make. And especially now in the days of like Kickstarter and Patreon and stuff like that, they can do it without massive, corporate infighting, hopefully. But
so just to kind of look at the timeline, because I did my homework on this one. So back in let's look at the timeline here. So back in, what was it, 2022, very 2022, they lay off 1,100 people with Mike Merles. Mm-hmm. 3 months later, OGL happens.
Yeah.
After that, let's take a look. Shortly even before that, Cynthia Williams, who is the then president of Wizards, who stepped down in April of 23, which was shortly after the OGL, if I remember right, very famously said that they're under-monetized, so they're going to focus on branding more than anything. Mm-hmm. They start working on Project Sigil in 2024 as well.
Wait, they started in 24?
Well, yeah, they started like a year ago on it.
Okay.
And then did a quiet beta launch here just this last February. Laid off 90% of the crew. And then he leaves. So is he retiring or is he fired or is it...
Yeah.
The other thing that makes me wonder is if he wasn't let go and they wanted to give the official narrative that it's a retirement because they know he's so insanely positively regarded in this thing.
Yeah, in this environment, yeah.
Like Mike Merles, they could get probably away with. It was a very unpopular move. But maybe they learned their lesson off morals.
It's possible, yeah.
But Chris Perkins has been the face. Like I said, he was Mercer before Mercer was Mercer.
You couldn't look at a video about Hasbro or about Wizards of the Coast or anything without seeing at least a little bit from him in it.
He was running live plays and charity games back in the day. And before he was a thing, before live plays was really a thing, he was running charity games and doing convention games and all that. He was good.
But he was, and that's the thing, he was good.
And he taught me a lot about the hobby. Like, he's one of the people, like, as I said before, Mercer was Mercer.
Yeah.
That made me want to be a better dungeon master. It's like, this is my example of a dungeon master, of what a good dungeon master looks like. I want to be like
him.
I want to be as good as him. Maybe not like him. I'll do my own things, but I want to be as good as him.
Yeah.
I've never been in that mode in my mind where I want to be just like him. When I was younger and hated, I'll be honest, just because I didn't have the confidence, did not like myself. Yeah, I wanted to be someone else. But as I've grown older, it's just like, I want to emulate the things of the people I respect, but I still want to be me. I actually like me now.
Yeah, you want to put your own thoughts and ideas and stuff like that together.
I think that comes with age, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you start accepting. Absolutely.
He's a senior story designer, and they talk about how it's under monetized. Like, and we've talked about it more than once on this podcast, like the quality of the adventures and the storytelling in their official published adventures. Like,
well, yeah, the Vecna book? Yeah, the Vecna book. I was just gonna bring that up. The Vecna book. Yeah,
like we even talked about it because we've been running Avernus, and I talked about there's like big gaps in that book. Like the first 7 or 10 levels or first 5 levels where you're in Baldur's Gate take up half the book. In an adventure that should take you to 15. But the first 5 levels take up half the book.
Half the book, yeah.
And go into incredible detail about Baldur's Gate.
And yeah, exactly.
It just felt like a Baldur's Gate adventure where, oops, you go to hell.
Yeah.
Here's a sandbox. Do what you want.
It's like, ooh, political intrigue. And guess what? Demons.
I had to go to multiple people online for that one. And multiple sources on the DMs Guild just to kind of fill in plots or see what to go. But and you guys still went your own way and did different things that none of that mattered.
Well, but at least it was still there and you were ready for it, and it helped you flesh out the world so you knew how to react.
Yeah.
So it was okay. You know, the decrease in quality in books and some of the decisions they've made under monetized is kind of a scary thing to, or concerning, not scary, but concerning thing to say. I remember Chase a couple of episodes ago kind of hit it on the head when he was talking about the corporate idea. Like, Hasbro is
not your friend.
Yeah, they're not your friend. They're here to take your money because they're a company and they have stockholders and they have all of that. If they can get our money, okay, that is starting to sound like NPR radio or whatever, but if they can get our money with less work, they're going to do it.
I think I even mentioned in that episode where I had, maybe it was about Hasbro or maybe it was just about the corporate mentality, is that most corporations view consumers as the obstacle to get to a person's wallet.
Yeah.
How do we get inside, or this person obviously only has access to their funds.
Yeah, how do I get inside
we
your...
can't steal it.
Yeah.
Legally.
How can I legally get into your bank account? Yeah. So
how can I appeal to you to get to your money? Well, they haven't really been succeeding in the gaming market.
According to Chris Perkins, they are. But yeah, exactly.
Under the official narrative.
The official narrative, yes.
But I guess, as I mentioned, Cynthia Williams mentioned that it was under-monetized.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro's shifting focus. It really feels like they are just shifting focus away from the game side of it. I mean, they have WizKids and they have Warlock tiles and all this.
Yeah, they've got their accessory products, yeah.
They got their accessory products. But what adventure campaign setting have you seen in the last 2 years besides Vecna? There is none. There's an adventure in the back of the DM's, or maybe it was the player's handbook, or the you have the books. I don't.
I have them, and I'm using them as inspiration, but I haven't done I haven't torn them apart.
But which one has an adventure in it?
I think it's the DMG.
Is it the DMG?
I think so.
I know that they have Greyhawk in it. That'd be honestly,
which is an interesting thing that they went to Greyhawk. I thought they would have gone. I
think
Forgotten Realms, but they went Greyhawk. Especially
since they have people online that are designers saying, "Hey, you older people are no longer our target audience, so I don't care what you think." They've famously gone after Gygax and demonized, or tried to demonize him.
Yeah. It didn't take, but yeah.
And for anyone listening, as I mentioned, I listened to this 13-point episode thing of the rise and fall of Gygax. It was done by guys here in Omaha. It was a great podcast. I cannot highly recommend it enough. And if anyone's thinking about starting a business, especially in gaming, dive into the TSR history and you will learn so many do's and don'ts of what not to do, and about overspending and overreaching and not being sensible with your money. Gary invented this game. Was Gary a perfect person, or was Gary a good person? Gary, I think, overall was a great person. He made lots of mistakes. He was his own worst enemy at most of the times. So for the people that are naysayers with Gary's small side tangent.
Yeah.
No, he was far from perfect, but regardless, we would not be sitting here talking about this.
Yeah. Without him.
If he had not taken Arneson's ideas and capitalized on them.
Yeah, for better or worse, whatever your personal views, we wouldn't be here without those two guys. Yeah.
As you were mentioning, though, Kilk had said in a previous episode, it's not our jobs to be our friends.
No.
And they seem to have kind of digital aspirations for subscription thinking.
Well, yeah, because they want to do, with D&D Beyond and stuff like that, subscriptions and all of that. Okay, cool, but it would have been nice to have I
think the average polling of how many people in the community kind of use D&D Beyond, it's only 30%.
I don't.
I mean, Chase does, just because it's easy for him, and Chase.
Yeah, he's got the character builder.
Chase is a digital person.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm old school. I like having the book in front of me and rolling the dice myself and using the mechanical pencil to fill all the stuff in. Not saying there's anything wrong with people who use digital. Whatever works for you, go ahead and use it. But that's my jam. I get more immersed that way and more connected.
I think that's why the VTT didn't work out, because they realized they weren't going to get that reoccurring passive income off of it. So they're like, ditch it.
Yeah, we're not going to. The profit margin is not where we want it to be, so we're not going to do it.
Yeah, really. It would be great if we just kept dumping money into this, and the community would probably love it.
Yeah,
but financially, it's just not sound.
Yeah.
And it's been proven over and over again. Wizards and Hasbro has a more corporate mentality than a gaming mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yes, I mean, I'm not going to completely call them on, say they're bad people for that, because they've got stockholders to appease. They've got to put food on their table with their families and stuff. So I'm not going to say they can't make money.
No.
But come on. Come on.
As we were talking about, maybe they're learning from Gary's mistakes.
Yeah.
That's where he went wrong.
And making new ones.
He was not good at business, and he did not want to run the business. He just wanted to be this guy that came up with stuff and got paid royalties for it.
Yeah.
And then say that he ran the business, even though he wasn't really running it.
Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah.
That being said, though, with the corporate mentality, though, it really feels like they're broadening the brand. They're putting the holders on Mr. Potato Heads. They're trying to put it on beach towels, clothes, bed sheets. They're taking the George Lucas route almost of the merchandise is where we're going to make the money.
Yeah, get the imagery out there on as many things as possible, as quick as possible, and make money off that. See what sticks. Go with that, and then let's just rake it in.
And we were talking even before we started recording, they have D&D casino machines now, which, cool.
Yeah.
But it seems kind of skeezy at the same time.
It does.
Nothing against casinos or
no,
people that like to gamble.
I used to work at casinos as like security and vault techs and stuff like that. I've got nothing against casinos. If you have disposable income, go have fun. It's not my place to tell you how to have fun. If that's what you want to do, go have fun. I just
never thought I'd ever see a
D&D slot machine.
Yeah,
I never thought I would see that.
And I would not be surprised just with the success of Monopoly Go, like I was mentioning. I would not be surprised in the next year or two that we don't see a D&D Go or something the equivalent to where, because Monopoly Go is Hasbro's biggest income.
Yeah.
It made them got hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
If not more.
So yeah, I can definitely see like a D&D Go to where you make a character or whatever and you're with your phone out, you're walking around and you're fighting a kobold or whatever. It's like, yeah, I can absolutely see that.
That would be cool, a D&D, like
Pokemon like Pokemon Go type situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But like they did the Honor of Thieves movies, which unfortunately didn't get a sequel yet. I know it's kind of still up in the air, at least talks about. I know they're talking about a live-action D&D series, new video games. They want to push D&D, I think, into more of a multimedia brand.
Secret Level.
That was actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. My gripes about it, but at least visually and thematically, it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever going to get anything right.
No, of course not. Yeah,
Fallout was a smash hit Amazon Prime TV series. Was it 100% true to whatever? I mean, there were a couple of potholes.
There were a couple of hiccups here and there, but I mean, again, stuff that I could.
Very minor detail things.
Yeah.
If we could get a live action D&D series at the quality,
of Fallout, I would watch it. Absolutely.
I might put out 20 of those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd be all over that. So I mean,
as long as it ain't Rings of Power, that's all I care.
Yeah, and that's like look at live action adaptations of anime. From my understanding, a vast majority of them are terrible. Yeah, look at like Rings of Power. Have you heard anything about the animated Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim? Have you heard anything about that?
I heard it did kind of so-so.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked good.
Yeah, visually looked very good. It did not appeal to me.
And I think that was a lot of the audience. It's just like, it looks cool.
But
I'll wait for streaming services.
Yeah, I'm not going to see it opening day or whatever, or I'm not going to watch it when it first drops. So that's what I'm kind of worried about, is because when you get a lot of like these streaming services, Amazon, Netflix, whatever, they are absolutely hit and miss. So I don't know. I mean, look what they did with Witcher. You had a fantastic actor that loves being an actor, that loves the lore, that loved everything about that. And they chased him out. I just don't want that to happen to this. But on the other hand, maybe it should happen as soon as possible so we can get back to the good stuff.
You mentioned that. Maybe that's what they did with Chris Perkins. Maybe they Henry Cavilled him. Maybe
they did.
He was trying to push back. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, because no one's either.
Henry Cavill never released any sort of information about what happened. This all came from set hands.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things with Henry Cavill. It's like we can kind of understand because we know what he said beforehand. We saw what happened, and then we saw what happened afterward. He gave
glimmers of it in interviews.
Yeah, we can kind of put pieces together.
Chris Perkins gave those hints in interviews of like, I consider this my magnum opus.
Yeah, that right there is my magnum opus. I mean,
so this is why I'm stepping down to become a creative director.
It kind of reminds me of in one of the Drizzt books to where is it Buranor? Battlehammer? The dwarf.
The dwarf.
He says that dwarves will get like that massive inspiration, and that's where he makes Aegis Fang, the warhammer that's used by Wolfgar, and that it's amazing because dwarves love it when that happens because they make the best thing they've ever made in their lives, but then they feel bad because they know that they will never make anything that good again. So this kind of feels like that, to where Chris Perkins, like, yeah, this is my magnum opus. This is, I'm trying to make this really good thing because I know I'm not going to have a chance again.
And now it's selling like
shit. So
There's probably too many Too many, I got a feeling, put their hands in the pot.
Too many chefs, not enough sous chefs. Yeah. Chris, I wish the best of luck to you. You've done some amazing things. I hope you can hold your head high knowing that you've done good works. Don't let this be your only defining one.
But Hasbro's vision includes everything like movies to microtransactions to TV series to casino machines to mobile apps to... The question is, can a community-first game thrive on that model? I think it will to a degree.
To a degree, yes, as long as the primary products remain quality and still maintain the spirit. If you get rid of the spirit if you get rid of the spirit of what it is, then you might as well be walking around with a football jersey and no one really cares.
I wouldn't even say trust is eroding, but trust is eroded.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, eroded. Yeah, past tense. Yeah.
We talked about on a previous episode, I think it was actually on our last corporate Dungeons and Dragons mentality, that Bob the Builder and other content creators did an actual survey.
Okay.
Where you remember that survey where how much do you trust Wizards of the Coast?
Oh yeah.
It was 10 to 20%.
Yeah, terrible.
It was in the red.
Massively. Yeah.
Everything was all the questions that said, "Do you enjoy the game?" Everything was so high. It was still in 60s, 70s, 80s. Anything that came up asking about Wizards was low. Exact opposite numbers was 30 to 20 to 10%. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
And then they back up vocal minorities that still, and they say they value the spirit of D&D, and I think they still do, but they more value a vocal minority that wants to put safety for whatever reason more before fun. It seems to be more of a focus, and
that's a sign of the times.
I think
it's products are always a sign of the environment they're created in.
But how is making Hispanic orcs making it a safer game rather than this big ugly looking thing? Just rewrite the history. You don't even have to change the art.
I can't defend that. I will admit with my defense of what they're doing is massively reaching, and it is I am massively just taking it on faith, which I don't have. I guess devil's advocate. I saw where their heart was going.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I do believe they executed it poorly. Because I didn't think there was anything wrong with the orcs. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. If you wanted to be a half-orc and you wanted to live in town, if you want to be a baker, you know what? That's fine. Go be a half-orc baker. That's awesome.
Like you said, I guess it's the sign of the times, because that seems to be reoccurring things and a lot of things outside this community as well. But
yeah, exactly, yeah. I like orcs from Warhammer 40k that are just running around shooting stuff because they think it's fun. Orcs in 40k are running around having fun. Here we go. I
think you, me, and Chase talked about in another previous episode once again.
Yeah.
Just if they had just written things like, "Hey, the orcs have decided to start being this way because they realized the error in their ways," I actually would have been happy with that.
Yeah.
And it's 2 paragraphs of work as opposed to spending hundreds of dollars on art to look more whatever.
Yeah. Granted, the orcs are the biggest change. I mean, the elves are still elves, the humans are still humans, the gnomes are still gnomes. But yeah, it seems like they've gutted the orc and they've taken away the heart and the soul of what the orc used to be, and did a very poor justification for doing so. There's nothing wrong with having an intelligent, quote-unquote evil race. Species.
As long as it's not inherently evil, and it never has been.
Yeah. Look at the Drow. Their society was bad, but they had other cities that weren't that way. They have goddesses that aren't they sacrificing.
Had story reasons why it was that way. It was just the nature.
It was the
culturally different.
Yeah, it was the Teneri blood in the Drow that made them lean towards evil. And then if you read the 6 books War of the Spider Queen at the end, you realize that they didn't have to do that anymore. Okay, cool. It was a massive 6-book series that changed that. So why couldn't we do that with the orcs?
It wasn't, yeah, like I said, it wasn't that way. It wasn't Lord of the Rings where it was just evil to be evil.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. Yeah, absolutely not.
There was story reasons why. It wasn't just they were all dark lords.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was established lore, established everything, and it made sense. And all of a sudden, oh hey, they're not that way anymore. Ah, okay.
So it was like fueled like a golden age for like indie RPGs.
Oh heck yeah, heck yeah.
We had mentioned CA Wood Publishing. They've published their campaign setting, and they've also just recently published a adventure setting with an Underdark Mushroom. The publisher that I talked to talked about how it was shades of Escape from LA or Escape from New York.
Oh, the Kurt Russell movies?
You have to break into a city.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
In the Underdark.
Breaking into a city in the Underdark. Okay.
You also have systems like Morkborg, Blades in the Dark.
However you pronounce those words, I hear it's quite contentious online.
Oh, is it?
I guess it's a running gag because it's not an English word.
Oh.
Or it's not, so they're not English words, and English people are always pronounce it wrong. But I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it in the English way. Yeah, it's Morkborg. It's probably wrong, and I apologize for that.
When I played at the Great Games Festival like a couple of weeks ago, the guy said it was Morkborg, and I had a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah, regardless of how you pronounce it, I have heard nothing but good things about it.
Shadow Dark had a $1.4 million Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's true.
Tales of the Valiant had a
massive. They're coming out. Yeah, they're coming out with a Monster Vault 2 here pretty soon,
which is in 6 figures, or the last Monster Manual was in 6 figures that they had, or Monster Vault, I guess.
Yeah, it's the Monster Vault, not the Monster Manual. You got to be legally distinct.
Yes.
But yeah, so obviously fans are ravenous for stuff like this. So yeah, the golden age of tabletop gaming is hopefully getting a new breath of fresh air. You know.
So you and me have been around long enough to remember the late 90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. There's kind of crossroads that are happening, but there's some key differences, obviously, from 30 years ago. And that is like the table remains obviously sacred to the community, first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I really feel that, talked about it almost a year ago at this point. I think it was last March. Yeah, you had went to a concert and we talked about with Nick and Chase on that episode.
Oh, yeah.
Of whether D&D was going away. It's not going away by any means. It will D&D will never die.
Yeah, no.
It's been around far too long and almost came to death
several
many
times. Yeah.
And then came back. I just don't feel it's a game that can die.
No, not when there's physically published books running around. The game will never die. Truly.
I honestly feel with how mismanaged it's been the last couple of years, and they've only done it to themselves so sadly.
Yeah, how many times can they shoot themselves in the foot before they stop?
It's going to have one big more hurrah this fall with Stranger Things coming out.
Oh, yeah, there is that, yeah.
But I think after that, it's going to die off again, and not die, I think it's going to taper off again.
It's going to go back to levels. Yeah.
I think we're hitting the age again where it's not going to be the biggest TTRPG. It's going to be that era with 4th edition where Pathfinder was a bigger RPG. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or maybe another system at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Shadow Dark is gaining a lot.
Yeah, you talked to me about when you were playing it, and I went on their Kickstarter was still alive, and I was like, oh dang, yeah, they're massively successful.
They have a West Marches campaign setting coming out, and it's doing, for the appropriate word, gangbusters.
They are doing gangbusters. Nice. Okay.
Far more than I think 5.5 is.
I hope that
I really think, though, not to interrupt you. And
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good.
I think Shadow Dark could possibly be the new mid-2000s Pathfinder, where, Paizo was king.
Yeah.
Paizo just...
kind of know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of good writers. They have a lot of good designers. They have their second edition, and it is still a very strong system. And I think it's still technically, runner up officially. I don't know the stats, so I can't give that confirmation. But I think Pathfinder is still technically a runner up.
Good for them. Awesome.
But I do think people are definitely looking at other systems.
Yes.
Well, Oakley was saying that he loves how much customization that Pathfinder has, as opposed to 5.5. I think he is one that enjoys crunchier things, but I do think that a lot more people are going for more rules light type things, or things where combat doesn't take forever.
Yeah.
I think if we were playing in our own home game, like an OSR type thing, like a Shadow Dark or Morkborg, where things were a lot more loosey-goosey, I don't think Vicky would be as intimidated. Which shows from a newer gamer's perspective, if you run more of a rules light system, it's not as intimidating to get into that, because D&D is still a pretty, despite being middle of the road, it's still a little bit crunchy in a lot of areas compared to a lot of other things.
She seemed also to take pretty well to the Call of Cthulhu system, which up front I could see how creating a character is very complex.
Yes.
But you made characters for us for the couple of one-shots we've done. It seems like she took to that one pretty well.
Chase also brought up a good point, just because she wasn't a fantasy fan. And not somebody that knows mythology or folklore like the rest of us, unfortunately, that she had a real world basis also to call off of.
Okay, that's true, yeah.
We played in New York and then played in the Boston area.
Yeah.
So she could visualize that as opposed to fantasy setting. I just, with Project Sigil collapsing, veterans like Chris Perkins or Mike Merle's gone, it's fair to ask who's left to steer the ship. Jeremy Crawford? Who's stepping into that power vacuum?
Who are filling these roles that are being opened up, and they're going to be having a lot of power with the direction of all this.
Because from my understanding, like, the core team at Wizards is hardcore gamers. There are people that like gaming. There's people that like GURPS and all this sort of stuff, and they like gaming, but I don't know if they're anything like the rest of us. Maybe they don't like the creative direction that their company is going, but it also pays the bills.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think regardless of what companies do or what big names do, the final word, it rests with the fans. It rests with the people who are spending the money, buying the products, and playing the games, whether around a table or on a computer or on your consoles playing, Baldur's Gate 3. It rests with the fans.
Yeah.
And I think that's never, honestly, it's never changed. People may have lost sight of it, but I honestly think that's always been true. That it rests with the people rolling the dice, playing the games, making the characters, and making those connections with their friends or other players. And I hope that we, including myself, hold on to that, and that regardless of what game they play or what system or edition or anything like that, they continue to make these amazing stories and amazing characters, because in my opinion, that's what it's all about. That's what we're here to do. Hasbro can go pound sand. Wizards of the Coast can go pound sand. I'm still going to play my unoptimized Hexadin, and hopefully not die fighting.
Or if you're having a bad week, hey, you want to go kill some monsters?
Yeah.
Let's go save the town.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's just something as simple as that. Go fight there's goblins that are, you know, picking on
Because
merchants. Let's go kick some
God
goblins.
knows the world sucks right now, especially pretty
Recently.
freaking hard.
Yeah.
Like you said, the soul of D&D is always going to endure, whether it's at the game table or, I guess, Discord servers or online.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
as long as we have, like, torchbearers like us on this podcast, not toot my own horn, or people in the community, and that's going to be the big difference as well. I should point that out between now and 30 years ago. 30 years ago, we do not have the online communities and all this like we do now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it needs more than just like the heralds that are out there that are screaming at the top of their lungs. You know, it's the everyday people. It's the people that are willing to go to conventions. It's the people that are willing to homebrew. It's the people that are willing to just to be creative in their own right.
Let me throw this on you as we're starting to wrap up here and tell me what you think here.
Okay.
With the online communities, do you think, basically being independent little mini studio now, a painter, do you think you'd be as inspired as you are now, as opposed to like 30 years ago, if you had done this 30 years ago, if you didn't see these people on like Instagram or these other sites and they're showing you what they paint and seeing what they do and they're sharing their techniques and they're kind of being able to collaborate together in this kind of online almost renaissance? Because I would not probably draw as much motivation as I am seeing these other content creators and seeing what they can do, and like I have more experience in this field than them, obviously, because a lot of them are childs of COVID.
Yeah.
And it drives me more to be a content creator, and that's the whole premise of this podcast is just like, I want to sit down with you, like you guys are here with me.
Yes.
And share my experience and my opinions and be heartfelt, not to make you feel excluded or bad. Make sure that you feel included at this table for the right reasons and to give you inspiration of how to run your game better.
Yeah.
Through my own experience or my friend's experience, or just you guys get to listen to the original premise of this campaign was me, Brent, Chase, and at the time Nick, who played with us, would, for the last 40 minutes after a campaign session, we'd sit and talk, see how we were doing, or talk about what was going on in gaming and how ridiculous some things were. Or
yeah.
And I'm like, we should record this.
Yeah, someone,
and then the ball got rolling.
Yeah, someone may be. Yeah, but no, I can safely say that I was inspired to start mini painting by the online community. Just a quick shout outs to a couple of my biggest inspirations. Midwinter Minis, guys, Midwinter Minis. I'm sorry, Wylock, I forgot your name, but Wylock's Armory, Jeremy from Black Magic Craft, or another Brent for Goobertown Hobbies. Those guys all inspired me to even just start this, and just watching either their speed painting videos or just them slapping stuff together on their desks. It just inspired me to do this. So no, I can safely say that I was inspired by the community. So
we have so many like small creators too that are just doing amazing things. Like
amazing things.
One of the people that threw
Bill, that's his name. Wylock. Bill, shout out, dude. Amazing guy.
We're gonna be doing a Q&A episode here probably after this episode, and one of the questions off that was off one of our top fans, Dungeon Matters, who's a small content creator, amazing dude, shares our podcast episodes on this thing. But he produces the most gorgeous things on his page. It just makes me want to like, man, that is awesome. And there's countless people. There's the Forever DM. There's Heroes of Evermore, who's like, it's like having like two cousins or stepbrothers that are just like got my back or give me ideas of how to run things and tag me in things constantly.
Yeah. Or like the Ink GM or Ziggy, you guys out there, like Ziggy, I see like posting all the time, commenting all the time, and Ink GM either calling me out or, keeping us honest. And like, again, just being that constant.
He now runs his own podcast,
Yeah.
The Story Crafters.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just seeing what they come up with, and seeing them be creative, just also inspires me to be creative. So that's it's awesome that the communities that we build ourselves can really define where we go and how we do things, and we need to keep that in mind, that we can keep inspiring each other to keep doing these great things.
Yeah. So shout out to them as well. Shout out to the entire community.
Yeah, just to everybody.
And if I'm missing anyone, I am so sorry. There's just so many people. I'm just going off the top of my head at 10 p.m. at night.
Yeah. Anyone out there who was brave enough to put themselves out there, open themselves up to people on the internet, which can be toxic as heck, and show their terribly painted mini that looks like it was painted with markers, you're awesome. Get out there, be creative. If you want to share on the internet, fantastic. I'm here for it. If you don't want it, if it's just for you, cool. That's awesome too.
But for anyone listening, what do you guys think? Drop us a line, like, subscribe, comment. Are we, with the obvious erosion of the Wizards Tower that is Wizards of the Coast right now, are we witnessing an evolution in our community? I think we are. I think it's shifting. I don't think it's dying by any means. It's never going to die, because there's going to be people like us that have been playing forever. And
there's some people playing AD&D out there,
Exactly.
You guys are awesome.
Drop us a line on Discord. Come join it. You can join through the link tree. Leave us a message on Instagram. Tag us on your socials. Your voice might just be the saving throw this game needs, because this community is amazing.
It is.
Hey, tabletop gamers. Thank you for watching this episode of the Hermit's Homebrew. We come out with new episodes every Wednesday. Remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends as we continue to level up and grow.